Narcissists do not age with grace. When they get older, they do not soften like others. They just lose the mask. The charm fades and looks disappear. The people they once controlled start slipping away. That's when something extremely ugly takes over them. They start spending the money they have been guarding their entire life, trying to buy love, attention, and younger partners to feel wanted again. Especially narcissistic men. When that stops working though, they suddenly fall sick. Chest pain, blood pressure. I'm talking about endless health issues. Every illness appears right when people stop responding, which proves they're more dependent on people than others are on them. And finally, we have the divine act, the holy act. Out of nowhere, they find God. They start preaching about peace, forgiveness, and mortality, while still doing the same thing, gossiping, controlling, and judging behind everyone's back. It's not spirituality. No, it is strategy. When pity and religion fail, they begin quietly smearing the people who moved on. They twist stories, act like victims, and make your peace look like betrayal. And when no one believes them anymore, which happens, they crawl back to the same people they once looked down on, pretending to be humble and to have changed, hoping someone will give them a little attention that they so depend on. Old age does not redeem a narcissist, it exposes them. Every mask, lie, and performance comes crashing down. What is left behind is total desperation, and that is what we are going to talk about. Hi, I'm Samir, a narcissistic abuse recovery professional. The topic for today is 5 dirty tactics aged narcissists use when their supply dries up. Let's start with number 1. They start spending the wealth they hoarded their entire life. To get what? Supply and date younger people, primarily women, if we're talking about narcissistic men. You see, older narcissists treat money like their ultimate weapon. That's why they earn it. For decades, older narcissists pays the way to save the price of money. They carry a good weapon and seek better than one to another. But that crisis is not only about medical bills or survival, it's about the cost required to attract new people, new supply. As they age, the looks fade, charm dies, and the only thing that remains is money. When their supply runs out, they suddenly start spending to buy admiration and fake attention. They fund someone's dream, gift expensive things, or suddenly invest in people they once disliked or ignored. It's not generosity, no. It's their pathological strategy. What they're essentially doing is trying to purchase what they can no longer physically or emotionally attract. When it comes to younger women, older narcissistic men know exactly what to do. They dangle comfort, stability, and luxury as bait. They play the experienced provider and offer what young women crave after being hurt by men their own age: security and attention. They pay for trips, gifts, rent, or even business ideas. But beneath that generosity lies one motive, and that is total ownership. The younger woman becomes their new trophy, proof that they still have power, that they are still desirable or young. The narcissist studies her insecurities, funds her dreams just enough to keep her hooked, and makes her believe she is lucky to have found someone mature. But what she does not see is that she is being groomed into emotional debt. Every expensive dinner, every paid bill, every gift is basically a silent contract. The moment she stops admiring the narc, the same generosity turns into extreme control, guilt, or outright punishment. Older narcissists do not date younger women for love. They do it to feel alive again, to feed off the youth they can no longer embody. The relationship, in reality, is never about companionship. It's about resurrection. Number 2, they suddenly develop illnesses for attention. The same emotional pain narcissists once caused their family and children in their youth comes back to them in old age. But unlike their victims, they cannot handle it. That absolute silence, the distance from others, and the loss of control, all of it feels like death to them. So they do what they've always done best: perform. Only this time, The performance is not rage or superiority, it is weakness. They start creating drama through health. One week it's chest pain, the next is blood pressure, insomnia, or mysterious weakness that no doctor can explain. Their timing has flaws. If you pay attention, every symptom appears the moment someone starts ignoring them. The illness becomes a stage, and the audience is their family. They use frailty as a leash to pull sympathy back their way. A single phone call about their poor condition can make the same children they once emotionally destroyed rush to their side in guilt and confusion. They crave that panic, that attention, that pity. It makes them feel powerful again. Because even from their bed, they're still able to control hearts and movements. Basically, it is the last weapon of a manipulator who is running out of tricks, pretending to be dying just to prove they're still the center of everyone's world. Number 3, they start finding God to fool people. When their old tricks stop working, what do? They suddenly find faith and solace in God. You'll see them in churches, temples, or spiritual gatherings, acting reborn. They'll quote scriptures, volunteer in front of an audience, and talk about forgiveness and peace. Crazy, yet the moment they step out, they gossip, slander, and manipulate like before, which is anti-good. It's theater, almost comical. All of this is to say, the show of piousness earns them something they know they can no longer get, and that is trust. They weaponize that trust to look holy while still spreading poison behind closed doors. They also use religion to guilt the ones who escape them. You'll hear things like, "Oh, God will punish those who abandon their family," or "You should forgive your parents, that's what good souls do." They use scripture to shame you into obedience, into submission. Religion becomes their new gaslighting tool, a way to turn divine language into emotional chains. They have replaced rage with righteousness, but the goal is the same: your subservience. They don't stop there. They start giving advice nobody asked for, analyzing people's lives as if they are divine counselors. They'll say things like, "Oh, I've lived through pain. I can guide you." But they're not guiding, they are controlling. It is a new way to feel superior, to sit on a moral throne while pretending they have evolved. Underneath the surface, it is the same addiction. They want emotional dependency, just wrapped in wisdom this time. Number 4, they start smearing the ones who moved on. When everybody stops feeding their ego, what do? They begin feeding on destruction and chaos. They start quietly destroying the reputation of the people who escaped them. You'll notice subtle conversations, half-truths, and concerns whispered to you, neighbors, relatives, or in spiritual groups. They'll say things like, "I don't want to speak ill, but my daughter has changed," or "She's gone no contact," or "He's under bad influence, my son," pretending it's worry when it's actually vengeance. Smearing becomes their last form of control, their way of saying they still matter. If they can't own you, they'll own the story about you. They turn your healing into gossip, your peace into proof that you're ungrateful, but you've abandoned them. Every kind thing you once did for them becomes reinterpreted as manipulation. Every boundary you now set is painted as cruelty. They write your freedom into sin because it keeps them relevant. Older narcissists don't stop destroying when they lose power. They just do it with a softer tone. Their words drip with pity. Their face trembles with sadness. But behind that frail mask is pure spite. They want others to see you through their bitterness, to believe you abandoned a poor, misunderstood elder. But that's not the case. They don't smear because they hate you. They smear because they cannot stand the idea that you are thriving without them. When you move on and no longer revolve around their chaos, it reminds them that their reign is over. So they attack the only thing they have left to damage: your character, your reputation. It is their final performance, one last attempt to infect the world with their version of what they call the truth. Number 5, they start chasing the very people they once looked down on. When their power begins to fade and no one worships them anymore. Older narcissists, turn back to the same people they once humiliated, ignored, or discarded. Suddenly, the friends they mocked, the relatives they dismissed, and the neighbors they never spoke to start mattering again. Isn't that interesting? They'll reach out with a strange warmth and pretend to be humble or changed. But this is not transformation. It is desperation in action. They go back to old connections because new ones do not want them. The people who once believed their charm have moved on, so now they recycle old relationships for supply. You'll see them calling old flames, messaging forgotten friends, or showing up at gatherings they once thought were beneath them. They'll say things like, "Oh, I've missed our bond," or "We lost touch. That was my mistake." Behind that fake remorse lies an agenda. They're scanning for who is still naive enough to give them the attention they want. Older narcissists don't reconnect to make peace. They do it to reopen the door they once slammed shut, hoping someone will still be standing on the other side with open arms. It's their way of fishing for admiration from people who already know what they are. When that fails, they turn bitter and start telling others the same lies. No one cares anymore, and they play the victim of a loneliness they created with their own hands. And that's the reason why I say they are their own biggest enemy. If you are a survivor of this type of narcissist, maybe it was a parent, maybe somebody else, and you want to move on and thrive, well, I can guide you all the way. With that, let's bring this episode to an end. I will talk to you in the next one. Until then, as always, let the healing begin.